Hello, everyone. Welcome to Marvel Time. Excuse me, one moment while I sneeze. Um, how you doing, Mac?
I'm great after today's comics.
It was a good run. Definitely let us move be past Ten of Swords.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, I have, probably annoyingly at this point, shown how excited I have been for King in Black, and it is finally here. I was counting down the days and then counting down the minutes this morning until I could read this comic.
Okay, so I know you're a huge Venom fan. I am not a huge Venom fan, but this was a great issue. It had great personality. It had the whole Marvel universe coming in a way that was accessible. Um, it had a villain who is complex yet understandable, a hero who is struggling, just complete change of how Venom, what you think of Venom in your mind, shocking reveals that are actually shocking.
Oh yeah.
It's a great issue. Kudos to the creative team. Did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying it too, like from the beginning. Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman have been doing an amazing job with Venom. That series from the beginning and then into Absolute Carnage, they've been absolutely killing it with really great stories and some amazing art as well. And yeah, this just did not disappoint at all. We were a little bit down on Ten of Swords and Empire. They weren't bad, but I think the hype for them was kind of overwhelmed them a bit. This one, this first issue at least, absolutely lived up to the hype. Like you said, those shocking reveals. And I mean, this was on par with, to me at least, felt a lot like Cap catching Mjolnir, right? Like it was that level of shocking, exciting moment. Yeah, just so much fun. And then, I mean, shocking moments on both sides too, right? So you get those big, exciting, like, yes, here we go for the heroes, and then just like that, it's tide turn, and it's awesome. It's a roller coaster issue. It's so much fun to read, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, it's just like everything you want an event comic to be. It has a personal story, but still has everyone involved and playing their part. And they did it in such a way where you knew why they were there. Even, I mean, when they bring in, well, I guess it's not a shock if you look at the cover, the X-Men in a way that made it make sense with what's going on with X-Men, but at the same time, what's going on with the main title. It was just well orchestrated. Those other events we mentioned, we kind of wondered what COVID, like the change in publication plans, they probably didn't have all the editorial effort they could, planned on, with books being canceled and stuff. And so, probably had to deal with stuff. Whereas this one just seems orchestrated and edited perfectly.
Yeah, it feels like the build to this was perfectly paced out. It was, just like played out so perfectly. I will say it doesn't waste any time getting into like the new story. So if you haven't been reading the Venom comics, you might be a little bit lost in the early going. You'll catch on fairly quickly because it is still a fairly simple story. It follows that same formula that Marvel crossovers do. You get this big new villain and all the heroes have to come together to fight him. But it takes it to a whole new level of, I mean, I don't think I remember any other comic where things seem so hopeless for, and like with Captain America being in the middle of the fight, things never feel hopeless. And that's exactly what it feels like in this issue.
Yeah. When they call upon what they think is their secret weapon and just goes terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like it's like, it made me, normally, the hero, the heroes are going to make it out. Like, it was the first time I was like, oh man, like this is really bad.
Yeah.
If you want to catch up, I would start with, Venom #1 from a couple of years ago. It's available free on Marvel Unlimited. You don't need to be a subscriber. You can just go pop in. You don't need a heck of a lot. A quick Google read, Wikipedia read will get you fairly up to speed.
Yeah.
It's the god of the symbiotes from eons ago, and he's coming to attack Earth. That's basically what you need to know. And the rest is kind of explained in the storytelling. Don't get too hung up on not understanding it, because if you just go with it, you'll be fine. It's not like Ten of Swords.
Right. No, yeah, you can get through this story without, looking for other little details and everything like that.
So, we could talk about King in Black all day, but
I do need to say too that I think it goes without saying that is my pick of the week, and it might be for several weeks going forward.
I was very close picking my pick of the week. So there was two that I was kind of. This is obviously, I think, in terms of scope and everything, into event comic, it's great. Knowing you would pick it, I'd pick the other one, but it's really close.
That's fair, because like I said, this is a good week for comics, so there were a lot of good choices.
Next, we have Atlantis Attack number 5, the end of this limited series that kind of ties into King in Black in the end, leading into the Namor King in Black tie-in series. Don't let this cover fool you. It really has nothing to do with what's going on here. It's really about wrapping up the story, which is basically Namor versus this the leader of Pan, which is this fictional country thing that Marvel likes to do. Good story, good Amadeus Cho moments. Not a central reading for King in Black.
No.
But this is one of those series that got delayed, kind of lost a little bit of its momentum. But I do enjoy the series, and I recommend you can go back. All the issues except this one are available on Marvel Unlimited now. So definitely take a peek if you want. But this is not like must read King in Black stuff. So
no, definitely not. I fully expected this to tie into King in Black more than it did, and so typically the way that I'll do my comics is I have a written review that goes up every Wednesday as well, which for this week it is obviously King in Black. And I like to end on that comic because then it's fresh in my mind as I go to write it. But I was too excited and I jumped right into King in Black first. I kind of wish that I read this one and the comic that we'll talk about next before King in Black, because it really is just like a tidbit at the end that leads into it, as opposed to it actually tying into the whole story.
Yeah, it is a bit weird that the checklist lists King in Black first and then these two issues, because these are definitely sort of preludes to King in Black, where it's like a main story and then a tease of King in Black at the end. But I would definitely go read Atlantis Attacks and then Union first, then read King in Black. Not that it's going to change the narrative. It's not a big reveal, but just sort of pacing wise, it's kind of cool to do it that way.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would recommend as well. I agree with you. I did like this story. It felt like forever ago that this storyline began. So I was kind of trying to remember what was going on. It's a fairly simple story, so it's not it's not overly complex. It is, like you said, misleading with that cover there. Namor is like barely the main character of this. This is an Amadeus Cho story, really, like that this specific issue at least, which is cool. He's a great character. So just and especially with Atlantis in the name, you might be expecting something different from what this is. There's a cool cast of characters in this issue, or in this story as a whole, with Silk being involved as well and Shang-Chi. So so pretty fun story. Kind of gets lost in the King in Black shadow that we got built in here.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad because there's a lot of good comics this week that I just feel are like getting lost in the King in Black shadow.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you have the Union for Queen and Country. Once again, it says King in Black, but it's barely a King in Black. I think this series will tie in closely to King in Black moving forward, but it's basically setting up in a very fun way. The first half of this book is just crazy fun, but then at the end you kind of see what's going on. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I liked this issue a lot, and this King in Black has, I guess, more of an impact in this one. Kind of changes the way that this story is going to play out, at least. This was a fun new concept. It's a new superhero team from the UK, and things don't go the way you fully expect. Union Jack is sort of the big name with this team here, but not really, I guess, not in the story. He's more the recognizable name to fans. But this is a fun series, and I'm interested to see where this goes going forward. Is it going to continue to tie into King in Black? Is it going to have its own story? I could see it going either way, and really like the direction, for this, because it's a cool new team, a really fun concept. There's sort of this like media pulling the strings sort of vibe to this whole new team. So I really like this new series.
Moving ahead, I picked this title because we're a Disney site, road trips, but Fantastic Four Road Trip, featuring some of the craziest body horror you've seen this out the side of Immortal Hulk. A crazy story, kind of outside of the main Fantastic Four storyline. I mean, Franklin here is in a different place than he is if you're reading FF right now. But just a one-shot, fun yet creepy and disturbing story all at the same time. But gets to really, I think, what's at the heart of the Fantastic Four, which is family, right? Like, and this is all about someone screwing up a family vacation because they put their own self-interest over the family vacation, which we've all been there.
Oh yeah, for several Disney vacations, I'm sure. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that being the reason for doing this title, because this was nightmarish. And it was, like you said, it has all the fun of like the family fun of the Fantastic Four. I didn't mean for that much alliteration there. Wow. But it lingers on those nightmarish visuals for a lot longer than I expected it to. And yeah, it was a bit much, I think. It was still fun. It's still a fun comic. And like you said, a nice one shot. It's a good self-contained story. You don't really need any, any context to it. As long as you know who these characters are, you're good. And it's not going anywhere after this either. So it's just this nice self-contained story. And it is a fun read. It's just, you might have some nightmares after this one.
Yeah. It's crazy, but not a bad. I mean, it's a good comic. It's stylistically drawn too, which is kind of neat. They do some fun things with panel work, but it's scary. In fact, I'm going to move on to here. MODOK Head Games #1, a 5-issue, I believe, limited series, written by Jason Blum and Patton Oswalt, who are doing the MODOK series. If you think this is going to be like a comedy, like the MODOK series is going to be on Hulu, and Patton Oswalt, you think comedy, and I'm not saying it's not funny because it's got humor in it. Yeah. But it's not just a frivolous like, let's make fun of MODOK story. This is like a true, like, get to the heart of what MODOK is. You get to see MODOK actually be MODOK, yet and AIM and all this stuff that it's you've always kind of wondered in your back of your head how this all worked out, because that was the bad guy. Like, you never really see into their machinations. But the family moments, that they have within the AIM family, as well as sort of MODOK wondering what's going on. MODOK actually going into his past, which is very rarely exposed. And just sort of that Jack Kirby style villain is, this is why it's my pick of the week. It's very different than King in Black. It's very personal. It's very focused on MODOK. But as I said, I was kind of worried this was just going to be like a throw, like not take MODOK seriously. But because he's a big head with little tiny arms. I mean, it's easy to kind of throw him away. But I thought this was the perfect MODOK book.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you said you were having a hard time choosing your pick of the week, this was the one in mind that I was like, all right, it's either King in Black or MODOK, because that was a great first issue. Any other week, yeah, this probably would have been my pick of the week as well. I would have thought the exact same thing, that this was going to follow the same lines of that Hulu series that's coming up that sort of has that robot chicken kind of humor. But Blum and Patton Oswalt, they released they had an interview recently where they talked about this series and talked about how it was going to be more serious and getting into MODOK's history and stuff like that. So I wasn't caught off guard like you were, I guess, but this was something I was looking forward to, because MODOK's a great character, as we're seeing more and more of him lately, and different versions too, right? Like we're getting that Hulu series. We have this new comic. He was the main villain in the Marvel's Avengers game. So you're seeing a lot more of MODOK, and it's because he's a fascinating character. Anytime you have this sort of like android component to a character, and yet they start to have these human thoughts, that's always an interesting story, right? And then, yeah, there is some great humor still in there. You're not going to get, through a Patton Oswalt project without a couple of laughs at least. So yeah, it's both incredibly serious, and then still very funny. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this series, you draw some tears out of some readers.
Oh yeah, it makes me want to MCU MODOK so bad between this and the Avengers game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of tears, you can see Mike Celestino's review of the SpiderBot, which is, I guess, the e-ticket toy from Avengers Campus, which they, I think, got tired of keeping on the shelf for months. And maybe it's just because it's been sitting there for months on end, but looks fun in concept. Mike's SpiderBot had a little trouble going forwards, did backwards fine, rotating. And in the end, you end up for $75. There's not a heck of a lot there. Now, there's going to be upgrades and things, and who knows what sort of interactivity you'll end up having. I mean, the Disney merchandise team did such a fun job with the Galaxy's Edge stuff that you don't know where they're going to take this. But in the end, wasn't the most impressive toy I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Who knows? Maybe Mike's had a bug.
Yeah. This is the 616 SpiderBot. I need the 672 SpiderBot. I'm going to go a little bit out of order because it doesn't make sense to do it this way. But we talked briefly before about the Marvel Paragon collection for iconic X-Men writer Chris Claremont, and so they announced that as part of that, they're going to add a special Wolverine book.
Yeah, which, I mean, this collection was already so awesome. I don't remember how long ago we talked about this. They first released it or put it up for pre-sale. There's so many cool things about this whole collection. And now you're adding an original... Thanks, Doobie. Now you're adding an original Wolverine story that you can't get in any other way. I mean, how much more do you need to incentivize Marvel fans to get this thing? That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. And you got one more day to order it. Marvelmade.net, I believe. Just making sure they met their goal, and it will ship to you. Actually, you have 2 more days. It ends December 4th, and it'll ship in March. And then, Mac, you reviewed a book from our friends at Titan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess you can see the cover. Yeah, this was really cool. Marvel, the first 80 years, goes through the history of Marvel Comics, which I guess the title of it is a little bit misleading because it really is focused on the comics as opposed to Marvel as a whole. The one weird thing to me a little bit was that it doesn't really touch on the MCU at all, which when you think of it as Marvel Comics makes more sense. But this was really, really awesome. So much amazing history. And it's not, like reading through I refer to it as a textbook because it has that much information, but it's not like reading through a plain old textbook. They have all kinds of amazing artwork from through the 80 years of Marvel. There's actually a really helpful timeline that goes through the bottom of it that walks you through pretty much every year of Marvel, really, with some of the big iconic moments, introductions of characters and stories, and the hirings of creators like Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. So yeah, just really takes you through all of the most important moments in Marvel, and just a really awesome piece to have for Marvel fans. And if you want to learn more about Marvel too, because I mean, just flipping through this, I learned at least 2 or 3, interesting facts that I had never heard of before. So really cool book.
Cool. You check it out. And then sort of a bittersweet moment. Disney Plus updated the Marvel Studios logo on Black Panther, if you're watching on Disney Plus, to as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, who obviously passed away earlier this year. With a sort of a "Long live the King" message. You know, it's a touching tribute to celebrate his birthday. And obviously he will be missed as we move on to Black Panther 2 and whatever form that takes. And I'm sure that will be in many ways a tribute to his legacy as well. So with that, you got anything else you want to chat about?
No, it was kind of a slow week in terms of Marvel news. We are, I guess, still just counting down the days to WandaVision, really. Although the comics really, it's nice when you get this sort of week when the news kind of steps back and there's no movies or television or anything, and the comics really shine through because, I mean, I am in full-on King in Black mode right now. This thing is awesome, and I want more of it.
This might be the best comics week we've had in, since COVID, since they started publishing again after COVID. And yeah, I mean, obviously we love all the media, but it is a moment for the comics to shine because, obviously once WandaVision gets back up and going and, next week we'll be talking on Wednesday, but then on Thursday will be the investor conference where presumably we'll get a little bit more information about that, what Marvel has in store for Disney Plus and possibly Hulu. So,
yeah, so hopefully
obviously Thanksgiving when you do a show on Wednesdays kind of kills part of the week, but
right. Hopefully we get big enough news that calls for like an emergency issue 25.5 or something.
Yeah, but we should do like a 25 in IC.
Yeah.
We gotta start planning though. It's our big 25 issue. Like we need to have special like guest artists on and charge an extra $2.
Charge an extra $2, so bringing the total to $2.
and having all these backup people on so that we can and then maybe we'll relaunch. Maybe we'll go back to Marvel Time #1.
Yeah, change the name up a little bit, like Amazing Marvel Time #1.
No, don't even do that because that makes it easy to understand. Like I love these comic book series. Like I'm looking for Spider-Man #12. I don't know what year that series started. Like now I gotta do the math, figure out how many issues they're doing of the saddle month, and then no, that's the storyline I want.
We have to just slightly change things too. Like maybe we'll just sit in a different area of our homes and just kind of
change the way we do the numbering.
Yep.
Thanks so much. Please give us your feedback. You can always email us, editor@laughingplace.com. Maybe we'll do a letters column. Anyway, thanks so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. And everyone go read King in Black.
Or else.